Could you please state your name and the college name and your major?
I'm Mariel. I go to Brown University and I'm planning to study behavioral decision sciences.
I am from Brown University and I am a computer engineer.
Hi, I'm Derek. I attend Oberlin College and I'm going to be a math major.
Hi, I'm Andrew. I'm going to my sophomore year at Brown University and I plan on majoring in applied math and computer science.
I applied to a lot of the UC schools and got into all of them. And then I applied to a bunch of different schools around the country. I did a lot of dual degree programs for violin and academics. So like Oberlin College and Conservatory, Peabody, Johns Hopkins, things along those lines. And I chose Brown and I'm really happy that I did. I feel like it was the right choice.
So I was accepted to Dartmouth, Carnegie Mellon, some West Coast schools, I think Tufts as well, and I think some other ones I can't remember.
Wow,
I was in California, so it's kind of just the state schools. You just apply with one application. But Brown was always my number one. I really wanted to be able to explore different concentrations. I didn't want to have to commit to one in the very beginning. And I think that that really benefited me because I started in biomedical engineering and then I realized that I wanted to learn more CS. So in my sophomore year, I was able to pivot and start with computer engineering. I'm burning this bacon. Oh, sorry.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you are saying you definitely made a right decision.
Definitely made the right decision.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I was accepted to a couple less prestigious than Oberlin liberal arts schools, and I wouldn't say it's just the prestige of why I chose Oberlin. It's also just a small campus, and it's kind of I really like the vibe of the people and the environment there. It's like really focused on liberal arts, and it's like there are a lot of unique people there. It just kind of has a reputation for being like a unique environment, and so I'd say I'm happy with where I ended up going.
I was also accepted into Stony Brook, Holy Cross, RPI, and UConn, but I ultimately decided on Brown specifically because of the student environment there. It felt, the way my family and I described it, felt like home. It didn't feel like, it wasn't like overly competitive. People weren't cutthroat after each other. It was everyone working together, and it felt a lot more united. It felt like a home, and ultimately, like a lot of these schools that I applied to and got into, they're all good schools, but Brown really stood out because of that, and I think it was the right decision for me.
I spent the most time on the Common App essay. That took me a couple of months of just revision. Sometimes I would have writer's block, so I left it alone and came back to it after a couple weeks. In terms of supplements, I spent more time on some than others. I actually spent the least amount of time on my Brown supplement. But overall, I spent a lot of days after school at Starbucks just typing and typing, so it took a few months overall.
There was a lot of people that I went to, family friends, my dad's friends, who went to like Stanford, and some of them went to Brown, some of them went to Yale, and they were reading through the essay, but I realized eventually when you have so many people kind of like looking and editing your own essay, it doesn't really sound like you. So I had to kind of start again and start thinking, what is it that I actually want to say? They're very good for organizational stuff and for cutting out any of the fat, but for most of the content itself, you can't really go to someone else for that. So I think everything with moderation.
So I consulted with my parents and a couple outside tutors, and I think I also consulted with maybe a couple teachers, and it took quite a while actually. We switched topics like multiple times. I'd say that despite all the time I invested in the essay, I don't think that it was the best work that I could have done. It wasn't really that representative of me, so I'd say that was kind of a problem looking back on it.
Preparing my essays was a long process. I had originally started brainstorming like the middle of July, and I did not finish until like after Thanksgiving, a few weeks after. I talked about the infinitude of the universes in both, well, infinitude of the universe in both the small side and the big side. What I mean by that is there's things as small as quarks and Planck lengths, but then there's things so big as the universe, and it's really amazing how both of these can exist in one world, our world. I was inspired by, you can Google it, it's called The Scale of the Universe. It's an app that somebody made, and it's got a little slider, and you slide through the sizes, and you could see like how everything in size compares to each other in the universe, and it goes from like string length and string theory and Planck lengths to as big as the observable universe, and it's that had me in awe. It was just really amazing, and it's something I think about a lot, and I really wanted to get like my person out on paper, because on the application they see your test scores, they see the classes you take, so they know what you're interested in, but they don't know about what's like up here, what you're thinking about.